Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Russian Garage. We're continuing to work on our Audi Avant build that we're trying to get that V10 engine in there. If you guys missed the last episode, we got the parts, we got some of this stuff straightened out, pulled up a little bit, and then it came to the point where we actually needed pieces. So we decided to get our parts car and yank that V10, massive V10 out of there, which was very, very time consuming to get this out. Huge engine, lots of different components to it. Took forever to get it out, but it's out. And like in the last episode, we did discover a big problem, which basically made this job turn in from a big job to a huge job. And what that is that the tunnel is different. This one is a lot wider to accommodate this transmission, which is a lot bigger than what was originally in the A6 wagon. So what the plan is now is, honestly, I was a little bit upset when we pulled that engine out and I saw that, but we thought about it. No point in giving up. We're just going to continue trucking along. So what we are going to do is we are going to cut this tunnel out along with the floor wherever it gets to the seams. So that way we can, and we're going to do the same thing out of the donor car, and we're going to make this engine fit. We pretty much already had the interior stripped, and I wasn't going to do the dash or the rest of it until we had the car already painted and we're ready to transfer all the stuff from the donor car into this one. But now that we got this issue with the tunnel, we have no other option but to go ahead and just completely strip this down to the bare metal so that there's no plastics. Basically all the wire harnesses, the ducts, the dash, everything is got to come out. And we're going to first take out the floor and the tunnel on this car to see exactly what we need to take apart. And then just like on this, we're going to have to do the exact same thing to the donor car. I didn't want to do that right away, but I got no other choice, so we're going to go ahead and do that. So let's get to work. Let's get this dash out, get this center console out, get all the wire harnesses out, and start cutting up this floor. I got the dash out, and it looks like we barely took anything apart, but we were planning to replace this dashboard anyway because we can take a closer look at what some genius did. They cut this bar, which goes all the way to the A-pillars. So there, you get a hit there, that's going to fold. That is not safe at all. On top of that, they put this Dynomat stuff everywhere, and they cut out the vents for this. There's some on this, so he's probably only getting air blowing out of their feet or something. I don't know why somebody would do this. And then on top of that, you got the harness. They did something while they're cutting it. Just a shame. But we got another dash, another car. So we're going to go ahead and replace all this. Everything in this, even look at this insulation here. That's crazy. Actually, not that thick, but it's still, everything is just done right here, in my opinion. I think I got this loose enough where I can get it out. But, man, check out all these modules here. You got fuse boxes from both sides. You got some kind of module here. It's got fiber optic coming up to it. This is the HID headlight regulation module. I don't even know what that is. Another module there. I'm guessing this is the MMI because it's got all the MMI cables and the fiber optic coming into it. But just a ton of modules. The same thing under there. Yeah. And then on top of that, this dash frame, not only is it held in with bolts from under here, there's also a 10mm bolt on each side right here, and then through that hole there's two 13mm holding it from the back side. So I think I found all the bolts. It looks like it's pretty loose. Let's put the tripod up and see if we can get it out. Guys, this is supposed to keep the two A-pillars apart. It's not supposed to do that. I don't know who thought of this, but man, that is not smart. But let's check out what they did to the heater core. Was this all really worth an aftermarket system? Man, I mean, none of this worked. All cut up. Man, that's ridiculous. Alright guys, now that we got that dash frame out, we need to get the heater out of there. In order to get that out, we got to get all this disconnected to get this out. I got to get this out. Everything's intertwined. So let's keep working. Let's get this all cleaned up in here. That way we can get all the things inside cleaned up, and hopefully we can start cutting. Alright guys, we got our heater box, AC box out of the car finally. We noticed something when we got the front piece, the blower motor off of there. We saw cabin filters. But I remember when I was taking the glove box off, I didn't see anything. But come check it out. I mean, how are you supposed to find this? I mean, there's a little door that we took off, but there's one filter. And there's two filters. I mean, obviously those have never been changed. I mean, they got mold on them, all sorts of stuff. So we're definitely going to change those out before the new one goes back in, because that is a pain in the butt to do it when it's still in the car. Alright guys, this door comes off just as easy as on a Wrangler. All you have is one screw here that has a guide which fits perfectly in there so the door won't go anywhere else. And then it's got another set screw right here that comes right out. One connector, and the door just lifts up and you can move it out of the way. But let's take a look inside. We removed the door because we're going to be climbing in and out of here a lot. So we're able to get rid of the harness. As you can see back there, that's all the wiring that feeds the whole front of the car, and it should be fun putting it back together. Well, and the other thing is that what made that so difficult is that harness is all one piece. It's one harness. The only plugs it has is where it plugs into the modules here, more computers and modules in the back, and that's it. Otherwise, it's a whole huge, just one big solid harness. I'm sure we'll get it back. It'll be fun, but we'll get it back into place. So the next task is going to be to figure out, we're going to clean up all this, clean everything up so it's nice and clean. We're going to put some kind of tarp or something to cover up the back of this car with the wire harnesses and everything, because we are going to be cutting, grinding, welding in here, and we don't want any sparks or anything to land on the harness, which could burn one of the wires, and then it'd be an electrical nightmare. So we're going to definitely cover that up, and then we'll start measuring, start looking around to see exactly how and where we want to take out the spot welds, and then it's a matter of just doing it. And then once we figure that out, we have everything cut out that we want to cut out of this. We'll start taking the parts car apart to do the exact same thing. Alright, and the general idea of what we're going to have to cut out and change is basically this whole big thing from the front all the way to where the back seats are, because you can see seam sealer here. So that's going to be a seam. Then there is a seam, where is it? Right here, right along there, and it goes all the way to the front right there, and the same thing on here. So we want to take this one big huge piece out and then put a new one in, the other one in there, so that way just to fit our transmission and engine. You may be wondering why we took out the windshield. Well, two reasons. One, it had a small crack in it, but two, other reason is because the S6 has a camera or high beam, some kind of sensor camera in there. So we are going to be transferring this windshield to that car. There's more and more parts disappearing off this car, but we got to do what we got to do to get it done and get it done right. So we got the back portion of the car. We've got a tarp up here. That way it's going to protect all the wire harnesses from when we're going to be cutting, grinding, welding in here. And then on top of that, we got to get all this stuff off right here to expose these seams. We are going to be using this wire wheel, so it is going to throw up probably quite a bit of dust on there, or the remnants. So let's go ahead and get those parts off. That way we can get even closer to getting this floor out. But first, safety first. Now that we got all this rubber insulation, it's like tar, rubber, really tough stuff. We got it cleaned off so we can expose where the spot welds are. We got everything vacuumed up for the most part. Now we're going to start with a small pilot hole, not going all the way through. This will give us a better way to drill with the big drill bit, so it doesn't walk around by giving it a little spot weld. Alright guys, a little progress update. This is day 3. We've been at it almost 2 full days trying to get this tunnel out. What we have come to realize that this is probably the first piece in building this chassis. So we're trying to dig out the brick in the middle of the wall of the whole build to get it out as neatly as possible so we can put everything back together. We had to notch the firewall and bend it up so we can get to all those spot welds. We just made one cut. We'll be able to weld that back up. We had to do the same thing on the back seat area because it's all intertwined. So we got some brackets cut off here that we're not going to need to expose more spot welds on the frame rail because we want to leave that there. We got holes drilled through so we can see on top. We'll start drilling all those, and hopefully today we'll be able to get this tunnel out, and then we'll move on to the parts car to get that same piece out. Alright guys, we finally got this airplane out of the car. Man, this thing, it's heavy, it's big, bulky, but we finally got it out. So the fact that we're able to get this out in mostly one piece, that means once we get this piece out of this car, we'll be able to get it back in there. Of course, on this car, we're probably just going to rough cut it too big and then trim it out on the floor so we're not having to be hunched over inside the car. But let's take a look inside. Alright, so now we got a big hole in the middle of the car. All this back here is going to stay pretty much how it is. We got to finish trimming out to get this piece off of here, this piece of floor right here, this piece. Basically, we got to finish getting the little pieces out and then clean everything up. So one of us is going to be cleaning up in here, and then the other one is going to start up here. We're going to get the rack and pinion out of there because we are probably going to have to replace this because it is different on the other car. And then we'll start taking some of these pieces off. That way we can get this whole car, everything off that's damaged, and then we'll know exactly what we need to take off the parts car. Alright guys, we are beat. Well, let's check out this progress. We got this piece taken off. That's on top of here. We got this separated from there. And man, all this stuff was so stiff and just hard to move. But now that everything's apart, I mean, look at that rail just moving. I'm guessing with the combination of the different bends and creases in the metal with all the spot welds. We actually counted the spot welds. We had 265 spot welds, and that's not including all these, I don't even know what this is. It's like a gold color. They had these seams everywhere, all over the place. It's not even including those, and those are tougher than the spot welds to get out. We got that floor finally out of there after 2 days of trying to get it out as neatly as possible. We got most of it cleaned up, almost ready for the new piece to go in there. One thing that definitely helped us out, and probably if you guys don't know about it, some cutting oil for the drill bits goes a long way. I mean, this stuff really helps to get those spot welds and to drill through the metal. So all we have left actually, well, there's a little bit more. We're gonna section this rail because, I mean, it looks like we already got a lot done and that there would be nothing to it to replace this whole rail. But in reality, this goes all the way up underneath the car. It's tied into the tower. Who knows what else is hiding in these empty crevices and how far it's going in there. So what we decided to do is this right now, since it's loose, it's going to be pretty easy to straighten all this out. So we're going to go ahead and straighten this out since the damage only went to about here a little bit. This piece is we're going to replace. We're probably going to take this off. That way we can section this rail somewhere back here. And the inner part, we are probably going to section somewhere along here. So we got a little bit more to getting the metal off. And then once we get all that metal taken off of there and we know what we need, we're going to start on the parts car and do it all over again. Alright, but we're going to end this video, this episode here. So thank you for watching. If you guys are already subscribed, thank you for all the support. If you haven't subscribed yet, you like the content that we're putting out, make sure you subscribe, turn on your post notifications, click that little bell so you don't miss the rest of our episodes that we got coming for this. We got a lot of good content coming. Still a ton of work to do, but I think in the end it is going to be worth it to have a unique car. Thanks for watching another episode of Russian Garage, and we'll see you in the next episode.